Welcome to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, where we mix business, law of attraction, spirituality, and well-being with great guests and phenomenal stories. You'll hear hints, tips, and up-to-the-minute information on digital communication from an expert in her field. Pearl has some wonderful individuals in her networks, and she will be interviewing them all at some point in the future. Enjoy your listening.
Well, hello and welcome to another of the Pearls of Wisdom podcasts. And again, I am speaking to a very special lady. You will have heard her first interview when we did the International Women's Day series. This lady has now become one of my VIP special guests. Her knowledge is phenomenal. So I've asked her back on a regular basis to share that information with us. Today, I'm speaking to Samantha Hartley, and we are going to be covering monetizing your gifts to the fullest. So welcome, Samantha. Thank you so much for being a guest again.
Thank you for having me back, Pearl.
Oh, everything that you've shared, it's given me so much inspiration. I think anyone that's listened to your podcast has said how much they've learned from that. And I know where I've recently joined your Facebook group, and the information you share there is absolutely brilliant. So
thank you.
As we were coming into this interview, you were saying, right, what topic are we going to cover today? And we were saying about monetizing your gifts, and I happened to mention that I've had 3 people just this week talk to me about money blocks. And I don't really think there are money blocks. I think it's the way that we approach things. So would you like to share your pearls of wisdom with us about how you would approach monetizing things, please?
Sure. Well, what's a specific around one of those people who reached out to you? Like how in particular does she feel like her money block is showing up?
9 times out of 10, she has an idea and she's so inspirational. Her ideas are fantastic, but then she doesn't know the price to put on it. And every time she puts the price out, she ends up giving stuff away for free because she doesn't have enough people that join in the group or the program that she's running. Mm-hmm. So some people get it for free, some people get it at a discount, and she ends up, the figure that she initially had in mind doesn't get reached. Yeah. So, and that's very disappointing. And that turns into a cycle that just continues because clearly there's something that's not worth it and things like that. So one of the first things I would say is that being able to gather groups of people together means that you have to have marketing skill. Yeah. So some people are just natural connectors and very well networked. And when they say, I'm thinking of doing a thing, like dozens and dozens of people appear to do that. And when they say, well, it's not free, then a few of those people kind of go away, but there's still a lot of people because that person is very well networked and connected and has built up a community. If you don't have an audience and you try to do group things, you're going to be disappointed. So what I would advise is, first of all, don't be doing a group too soon. If you work one-on-one with people, and I know there's a whole movement of like, don't work one-on-one, work in groups because it's higher leverage and blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's true, but that's not the first step. Yeah. It's not an early step for someone who doesn't have an audience. So if you put out you hold up a sign and say, hey, I have a thing going on, and 1 or 2 people show up, you don't have an audience, which is okay. You can build an audience, or you can not even bother to build an audience, but you can work in onesies and twosies. That's okay. That may be just the way things work for you. So I've worked one-on-one with people for years, even though I have some audiences and I can reach into that, but I love high intimacy work. And so I have loved to do that kind of work. So, I made lots and lots of money doing it that way. And so I wouldn't poo-poo that as a strategy, as a direction for your business. It's not necessarily more validating that you have 12 people in your group or 5 people or whatever. So what I would say first is don't get attached to a group and validate your idea with individuals first. So can you find like 5 people who are into your idea and charge them X number of dollars a piece? Yes, you can, I think. So that's our first thing to look at. The second thing to look at is like, if I want to do something and I don't know how much I want to charge, then what do I do? And I have I call it 6 ways to price your services. And I may not remember all of them now, but when we're going about setting a price for something, what are the steps that we should go through? Like, how do I come up with what my price is? So I do everything by intuition, Pearl. Yep.
So I just open up to the universe and I listen for something, and I will hear a number in my head. And if you feel like, I don't know if that will work for me, then what I want you to do is like put your hands on your heart and close your eyes and really just be calm and listen. Deep breath, and just think, from my heart, what do I feel like is the earth value in pounds or dollars? What's that number on this thing that I'm thinking of selling? And you might get a number where you're like, well, that's just crazy, or crazy too high, or crazy too low, or whatever. But like, whatever is the number you get, like feel around for it and just see what you hear. So very often that is how I begin the pricing process. And sometimes I'm going to go through some other logical methods now, and sometimes I'll arrive back at that number, but sometimes I won't. So the next thing that I do is I think, what does my brain want to charge logically? What do I want to do? And then let's look around, like, let's do some market research. What are other people charging for something like this? Okay, well, I noticed so-and-so who's very experienced is charging like $10,000. And I know so-and-so who's kind of like, maybe doing it for a few years, kind of like me, is charging 3,000. Okay, good. Well, that's your competitive pricing, right? You've kind of assessed what it could be. Then I look at some, time. How much time do I think that this work will take? And how much do I want to earn per hour? I'm not saying charge per hour. I'm saying do the math on the cost of this, the hours you put into it, right? So if I think, well, to do this work for the client, we're going to meet once a week for 12 weeks. I'm also going to provide them my curriculum, which took me years to develop. And I'm also going to put them together in a community. And the value of that community is, crazy good. And I'm going to make some introductions for them, blah, blah, blah. So you have this kind of total value, but just your time on that is, let's say it's going to be, 12 weeks and 12 hours. Plus it'll take you this much work and this much. And then I do something which I call being a time pessimist. We always think that the work will take less time than it does. Yeah. Yes. Right? Just not nearly as efficient as we think we are. So I will add on like a 25% surcharge to that. So you take your number and you multiply it by 25%, and that gets you a little closer to something. And if you're a super terrible time optimist, like you always think things take only like half as much time, then you can double the price on that. And by the way, when you're calculating your cost per hour, I always like to keep that above 100. Now, there are some people who feel like I've never earned $100 in my life. And there's some people who are like, dude, it should be like 1,000, whatever is your number. But I just so you know, I feel like whoever this is, who's a professional, should never be charging less than $100 an hour. So you've already got something like $1,200 plus at this point. And then you can check back in with your competitive pricing, and you can check back in with what your intuition told you to do, or spirit told you to do. And you begin to kind of get a ballpark. And if those numbers are very, very wide apart, well, then you can maybe kind of coalesce them into an average number, and just see what happens. So years ago, I did this. I had gone and talked to a community bank about working for them on their marketing, on their brand and their marketing plan. And I had a few sources of information. So I was going to work with them intensively for, let's say, 3 or 4 months, but I was going to be available to them for a year to help them with implementation. And when I asked my heart, I remember I was in the backyard and I was under this big, wonderful magnolia tree, and I was really listening, and I heard something like $60,000. And I thought, okay, noted. And then I looked at, what other people were bidding, and I found out that somebody else was bidding $15,000. And I thought, oh, okay, so maybe I'm on the high side. And then I talked to somebody in the company, and this is the thing I always want you to do, is befriend all of the people in the company. So there was a marketing manager there, and I called her one day and I said, hey, I'm working on this proposal for you. I just wanted to kind of get some numbers from you. Like, what was your marketing budget last year? And she said, I forget what it was exactly, but it was like $68,000. And I went, okay, cool, no problem. And so I put the whole thing together, and I thought, I did my time, my numbers, and it was going to take me, I forget, like maybe 40 hours of work or something. So I put that all together, and I thought, I think the number is $60,000. They'd been wasting $68,000 a year on marketing some ads that weren't doing anything. How about I come in and I show them what they can do properly? And that's going to be $60,000 investment. And they ended up saying yes to that. So, and just so you know, by the way, the guy who charged $15,000 or wanted to charge them $15,000, they said when they saw my number, they realized he had no idea what the project should be. how it should be done right. So never be afraid to charge way more than anybody else. They could have said, hey, you're crazy, we're going to go with the low ball guy, but they didn't. They said, no, we want to do it right. And we think that guy misunderstood. So that is a way that you can come up with what to charge. And you can hear that that's got the heart factor. It's also got the, I'm covering myself, making sure that my hours are covered. And it has like, well, I did some competitive research and this is what other people are charging. And that kind of, it's art and science, Pearl. We kind of have to navigate all the things.
I love that. And it also highlights you have to have confidence in yourself, because 9 times out of 10, when people are saying, oh, I can't charge that. Excuse me. I've been on these calls all day, so my throat's going a bit.
Starting to go.
But that's just it. I think that's where a lot of people find that they can't ask or they won't ask.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the confidence in it. Whereas whatever figure you choose, if it's said with confidence, your audience has confidence in that and knows that they're going to get that result. And the way you've said, when I work with large corporates, I do exactly the same. I will put a figure and they might ask for a certain amount, but also if they want you for the whole year, they need that retainer per month.
They do.
Go in. And then obviously if they want more work from you, that's going to be on top of that because you've only charged for the retainer for the other months.
Exactly. I mean, to me, that is the way to do it. And the word that you said that is key is confidence. If I could tell every single coach and consultant this, people are buying your confidence. Yeah. If this is the one thing I wouldn't work on, like a money block. A money block isn't a thing. Confidence is a thing, right? Can you deliver the result? It's not like, am I worth $60,000? It's, can I deliver a $60,000 result? And when you have put in your work and you feel like, I know I can, then, you are the confident one in this whole negotiation against somebody who's like, I think it could be 15. I don't know if the house 15. Well, they're not buying that. They're buying the person who comes in and says, I'm going to do this. You're going to experience these benefits. And here's the investment. The end. So it's always the confident one. And if you feel like, well, fundamentally, I'm not that confident, that's the thing to work on. And just, how to work on your confidence is a whole other episode. But I feel like that is, read your love notes, look at your testimonials, look at your case studies. And if results that you could be getting, then work on your results. And when you have results that are amazing, your confidence is just going to go through the roof.
It is. And I love the fact that you ask the universe for guidance. You bring that in, because I will choose when I'm pricing up for events or anything, I go with angel numbers. I see which angel numbers resonate, and then see from there, and you can see the difference and what they get at those different levels. But it also shows them, if people resonate with you and are part of your tribe, they will get that that's a universal number, that's an angel number. They will see the reality behind that and understand why the pricing's like that as well. And
totally.
And also, like you said, with the working with one-to-one, you get testimonials from your one-to-one clients, and they help to build the group connection.
Yeah, this is one of the things I think is key about working with individuals. Like you can always work with 5 individuals and bring them together once a month so that you kind of have a group element. But groups are for when you're confident about what your system is. And a lot of times we need to work out what our system is one-on-one. So in the one-on-one work you're doing, and I've done this with a client who is she's a corporate consultant, and she had only had 3 clients when she first came to work with me. And she had IP in her head, but it wasn't really out of her yet. We knew we wanted to get her a lot of clients so she could make a lot more money. And we knew we needed to get that IP out of her so she wasn't having to work so hard and like reinvent the wheel. And if you're doing a group, it's like, what are they going to be doing every week? And maybe you feel like I'm super confident about that. But if you haven't gotten proven results from that process over and over and over again, then your confidence is a little bit hollow. You need to be able to point to people who got results doing it. So in her case, she didn't have that. And I was like, your mission is case studies. Get in there, do good work, and have the clients, have it be the kind of situation where you can go in and do a case study about it. Like, before I came in, was this situation, what I did was this, high level, high strokes. And then the end of it is, and as a result, here are the results the client got. And so those first few clients that she got, the first one was like, she's just kind of going in there and kind of hacking through and like figuring it out as she goes. The second client, she was like, what did we do last time? And what did we do next? And did we do this? And oh, I forgot to do this last time. I need to make sure I do this. So but the third client, she's got a process. I always describe it as like a recipe. If I hand somebody a recipe that my grandma made, they need to be able to make it. And that recipe comes out just the same as what my grandma did. Minus maybe a little bit of the love, right? If you're doing a signature system, a signature approach, you're working out that process. At the end, she should be able to hand that to a colleague, a smart colleague, and that person should be able to implement that on their own. So that's the kind of specificity you're looking for. And I know we're talking about monetization. This is how you monetize your genius, is you get your genius out of yourself. Because a lot of us are like, I don't really know what I do. Like I kind of just react on the fly. No, that's great. That's great. But when you've reacted on the fly 3 times, 3 clients in a row, you should be able to now say, what did I do on day 1? What did I do on day 2? What did I do on day 3? And you write that up like a recipe, and then you follow your own recipe and you're like, got it. It comes out right every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely love that. And it is like, because once you've done that, that almost becomes a mastermind program, because once you've got it, you then see, like, say you work with your one-to-one clients, what did you cover in the first 3 sessions? What did you cover in the first 6? That becomes a 6-month program that you can deliver en masse and becomes your evergreen product, because people can join it at any time and you've already done it. And again, it's reusing content, actually using it and then reusing it for something else, because then where you've done the one-to-one, yes, as we were saying, they say, yes, you can monetize, you can get more money in a group.
Yeah.
But if you work one-to-one and then reuse that content and put it out there, you want to work once, but then you could be earning from it again and again in time immemorial, really.
Absolutely. As long as you know you've got a system that works. And by the way, so you could, my one-on-one clients are $50,000 and $60,000. So, and their one-on-one clients are 200, and well, one of them has a $480,000 client, another one of them has an $800,000 client, and another one of them has a it's $1 million client, but it's $250,000 each year. So you don't have to put limits on what your one-on-one clients could be. I'm not sure if they got a group together that they would be earning more necessarily. So here's why you want to make sure that you have this proofed on on your individuals first. Because if you're in week 7 of your group program and you give them an assignment and it doesn't work, and everything kind of starts to go off the rails, and then people are, talking amongst themselves and not happy, and then they kind of turn it on you. Well, then you've lost the trust of the group.
Yeah.
The whole thing's going to go off the rails because of something that you're like, oh, well, see, in my head, what I was thinking was that would work, or I've done this with 1 client or 2 clients, but it's always worked before, and now it isn't. You need to be really sure that you have tried this in different situations. I've been doing things myself for 21 years, and so I can point to an example of, I understand when people get frustrated with this step. I know what to tell them. I know how to tell them, this is going to be a frustrating step. Here's some things that might come up for you when we do that. So you don't want to lose the trust of your group because your process isn't, tested and proven. Yeah.
I love this. There's so much information that you're sharing here, and it's understanding just those little bits. And even if someone tried just one of the things you've shared, that's going to make a difference. But it's like you said, it comes down to confidence, really knowing the subject that you want to deliver. Because I think as well, when people can't nail it, it's not just on price, it's because they don't know what it is that they're actually selling. And that then makes confusion to the audience. The audience doesn't know what it's buying, so they don't buy.
Right. But you can see that if I'm like, hey, this is the other thing, is that a lot of us look at somebody who's doing something and we think, well, I'm going to run a group program like her, and she's got like 18,000 people in that group and she's making $20 million. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do what she's doing, even though I'm only in business for 2 years. Well, probably you're not going to, because what you missed is the part where all of the stuff that we're describing, right? She worked first with one-on-one clients for years, and then she started doing groups, and then she's tested and proven this, and she has coaches who come in and support, like all of those. And we're like, I should be able to do what she's doing. No, you shouldn't be able to, because you're missing all of the work piece. And then I try my thing and it fails, and then I lose confidence. Well, okay, you have to put in the reps, right? This is the gym metaphor of like, you have to go in and you have to lift the thing so that your muscles get stronger. Well, how do we get our muscles stronger? the thing that I'm talking about. You put in your reps with a one-on-one. You do a lot of one-on-one work so that you learn all of the permutations of how people do this work. Oh, this person gets frustrated here. This person's really strong at the writing, so they're good at this, but oh, wow, they're really afraid of public speaking or visibility. So, and you just start to learn all this stuff about your potential clients. You should know your clients and potential clients, that your target audience, better than they know themselves.
Yeah.
You should be able to speak to them about the things that they're aware of and refer to the things that they have that they're not aware of. Like it should be freakish. I've had this before where I'm in a session with somebody I've just met and I'm giving them feedback and they're like, how do you know that? How can you know that? Well, how can I know that? Is because I've worked with, hundreds and hundreds of people who are in businesses either like theirs or similar to theirs. And I can just make a bunch of assumptions about what's true. And I'm usually right, not because I'm a genius, but because I have a ton of experience at this. And that experience gives me confidence. So when I have solved a problem, when I've given somebody feedback and that has solved the problem, it gives me confidence. When I work with somebody and they get they go and sell a $480,000 engagement, when before that they were selling things by the hour for $50 an hour, that gives me confidence and gives them confidence too. So, you have to do work. I'm sorry, that is you have to do the work and then you build up your own confidence. So I'm kind of like you, suspicious of the money blocks piece. It's like, well, we didn't have money when I was growing up as a child. Okay. But a lot of us didn't. And so I'm not sure that that's really the thing that's in your way. If you believe in the mission of what you're here to do, like you have these gifts for a reason. It's not an accident. You were endowed with these gifts and now you have a responsibility to get them out there, but it's really hard and it's really scary. I know. Guess what? If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Yeah. You didn't just get given a gift and then like this open road to go and give it to people. Part of the job of your time on earth is for you to figure out how to build that road and give this gift to as many people as possible. That's Earth School, I think.
Definitely. Completely agree with this. And it's so spot on. Everything you're saying is, and when we look at like COVID and lockdown and people are saying, oh, but everything's gone under. Not everything has gone under. When you look at recessions, there are people that will go down because they're not prepared, but there are also people that do well. So you can't say a situation, oh, it's because of that, it's because of this. Because it isn't. It's down to you and how much you've learned. And also, like you said, how much work do you want to put into something? If you're not prepared to do the work, don't expect the high ticket items, because you have to have done the work to have the knowledge to actually share at that level.
Yes, definitely. And I think, I just joined over the weekend, I've joined a little running program. It's a website that kind of coaches you through your running. Cause I like to run, and I thought, I think it'll be a little fun. They kind of pace it out for you. And they sent an email. The welcome email says like 2 tips. One is don't try to run fast. And the other one is learn to love the running. Love the running. So I don't even know what that means, but I feel like it's meaningful. What I would say is, when we were talking about the work, I know it's very easy for some people to get discouraged, but it doesn't have to be hard work. Yes. It can be, I'm a believer in smart work and not too much of it, but you do have to do the work, and you have to, if you learn to love it, then it'll be great. I know for a lot of people, they hate marketing and they hate selling and they hate this and they hate that. And I'm like, well, then go get a job, because all self-employment is all that. But won't I be able to hire somebody else to do that for me? In about 5 years. After you've done once you're a master at this stuff, then you'll be able to get someone else to do it for you. So I think the key is learn to love all the stuff that you do in your business. I always say that and I teach this to my clients, that my clients know this. I'm my number one client. Yeah. And your number one client comes first. That means that if you have priorities during the day, the number one client, their work gets done first. And that number one client is you. You are your number one client. Do you love doing your work for clients? I hope you do, because that's what you're in business doing. So if you do, then love doing your work for you. Yeah, but what I do for them is this. I don't want to do marketing. Okay, but seriously, this gift that you have, you should want to brag about it and share about it and talk about it. And those clients that you work with, you should love them. I love my clients and I love to think about them and write about them. So during the day when I'm doing, again, I would say smart work, I'm really working hard, but if I'm working hard, it's like a really good workout. I'm like, yes, look how strong I am, as opposed to, oh God, when is this over? So when you're working on your business, like find the things that you love to do that are just delightful and fun and fuel you and give you more energy.
It's also, if you're doing what you love, the people that think like you will gyrate to you, because when you're talking about it, the passion comes through. Once you can share that passion, it is infectious. When I train people, my passion comes through. Yes. And all the feedback I get is, well, Pearl was so approachable and she loves what she does, and they all get excited because I'm getting excited, and that's the way it should be. If it doesn't excite you, you're not doing the right thing. That's where you maybe have to look and say, well, I like this bit, I don't like that bit, so I'm going to change what I offer, so I'm doing what I love. And like you said, don't feel, using the exercise idea, you don't do something because you must. Yeah. You don't enjoy it then.
Right.
I love where you've said enjoy the run, because I've got a treadmill in our garage, and that's how some days I love it. Yeah. And other days I don't. So I found the routines I love to do, because that's how I will keep fit. But if I'm doing something that I don't want to do, that I don't like it, I'm not going to keep it up.
You won't look forward to it and do it. No. Exactly. No. Yeah, I think that's so accurate. Like, why am I not swimming? Because I hate swimming. I don't want to be in the water. I don't like being wet. It's really simple. Do you like running? I never knew I liked running. I'm a late in life discoverer of these things. Did I think I was going to like weightlifting and all these kind of things? No. But so I think in terms of a monetization of our gifts, I think we're given a lot of gifts. Like all of us have a lot of gifts. Yeah. And the way, so I have a little expression I use called your joy and genius zone. And the reason I do this, because a lot of people will talk about your genius zone. And that's the stuff that you're really good at, obviously. I mean, I feel like we say genius zone as everybody goes, yeah, I totally get it. The stuff that comes just so naturally to you. You could do it like with one eye open. You could do it, anytime. And, you're just great at it, better than anybody else. So great that very often I'll work with people and I'll say, well, that's your gift. And that's the thing that you should focus on. And they'll be like, well, doesn't everybody do that? Isn't this easy for everyone? No, it isn't. So a lot of people don't realize that thing that comes easily to you, like that is your gift. I think they feel like my gift should be something that's like hard for me and I should be efforting. And that's the thing that I should sell. And I'm like, no, the thing that you should sell is the thing where you're like, it's not even effort. And when you say, doesn't everybody do that? That's the time to kind of like put your attention up and think, oh, I think that might be my essential gift. But here's the thing. Is that your genius zone is different from your joy zone. And I think the reason I coined this phrase, joy and genius zone, is because it's, to me, the combo that shows you where you should focus. Because I'm really good at typing. At least I used to be. So let's say my genius zone is typing. Well, that doesn't mean I should like be an admin and do typing for my whole life, because I don't love typing, right? I love, so a joy zone is the thing that you love, but it's not just you love it, it gives you energy to do it. Yeah. Like the more you do it, the more energy you have. So that's a really fun example, because like I can stand at a flip chart in the front of the room. I know you can too. We can stand at flip charts in the front of a room of people. I love pulling great ideas out of smart people. So if I'm at a flip chart at the front of the room, I am in my joy zone. Yeah. It also happens to be my genius zone. But for example, writing, I'm a really, really strong writer. I've been a writer all my life. I write for my clients. I write for me, blah, blah, blah. It's not a joy zone. Like I have a finite amount of time I can write, and then my energy just goes like down to zero. Yeah. So that means I write for me and I don't write for my clients. I have to ration my use of that particular genius zone. But the flip chart at the front of the room, I could do that for 7 days in a row and probably not sleep. And then you'd take over and you'd do 7 days in a row and not sleep, right? So that's what I think the thing that we should pay attention to is you have a lot of genius zones. And the ones that you should monetize are the ones that are also joy zones for you. And so if there's sometimes we'll have a joy zone and it's like, oh, what I really love is, I don't know, this thing over here, but nobody wants to buy it. Okay, cool. So I don't do that at work. Like, gardening. I don't want to garden for a living, but I love it and it gives me energy. But that's not a thing that I should monetize. So if you're looking at monetizing your gifts, the thing that you want to look for is what's the thing that that it gives me energy to do. I love doing this. Yeah. And it's also, I could do it all day long. Yeah. Totally doesn't wear me out. Doesn't cost me anything for me to do it. Energetically and cost.
Yep. Sort of literally just following on from that, going back to almost the woo-woo bit, I know what my sole purpose is, and it took me a long time to get there. And once you know that, every single step you do helps, because I know I'm here to give the voice to the unspoken. That's what my download was, because I thought, I have to do all the spiritual stuff, I have to ignore all my corporate experience.
And
then I got this thing, no, you do communications. Communicating is sharing people's voice, and I thought, yes, that's why you've done it for so long, and it's understanding from that side, and then seeing how do you do that. And then, like when I did the International Women's Day stuff, and then I've just done the Pearls of Wisdom retreat, everyone said to me, you're a natural connector. And I thought, I hadn't thought about that. But of course, it's communications. That's more of what I need to communicate. And then you think, well, how can you monetize that? How can you do that?
I know how.
And you do all this. So this is why I set the collaboration group up. Because then I'm looking at ways that I can do subscriptions to that I can bring people together. And when I do panels, people could pay to be a member of that panel, because then it starts to monetize. I started off, as you know, it was all free. And then I thought, no, there's so much. People came together. The ones you resonate with are the ones you work with. But then I've had some people that jumped on that and took advantage of it, and then went into my network and were asking them to do all these different things. And I thought, that isn't quite how I'd work. But you don't know that until you've tried. So I did that, and now I've thought, right, I've honed that. I know exactly what I'm going to do from there. And it's just coming, knowing what you love, knowing what your purpose is. If they can fit together, you can't go wrong from there.
Nope. I mean, I think it's amazing. First of all, what I think is important about what you shared is that is the belief that if I get a divine download, my sole purpose can't be financial. It can't be monetized. It can't be corporate. It can't be those things. Like, why not? The money is the currency of earth. This is how we, I think in spirit, we exchange energy in other ways. But on earth, one of the ways we exchange energy, we do it in a lot of ways, or value. We exchange value with this thing, this paper money or whatever our money is. And that's how we do it on earth. So why wouldn't your spiritual purpose be able to be exchanged for money? It just, to me, I think that's, people who feel like money pollutes any spiritual experience, I think they're misunderstanding why we're here on this planet. Maybe on another planet and maybe in spirit. But here, that's how we do. Like, people make art and then they sell it for money so that they can live on earth. So that just, to me, is kind of illogical. But I think what's perfect is you're like, I just got this idea about what I'm here to do. And here's how I do it. It's clarifying what you've always been doing, and it's giving information about what you're doing in the future. The other thing I want to make a point about is you built an audience with the Pearls of Wisdom thing beginning in not beginning, but you've been doing it for a long time, I think. But the Women's Day thing was a great opportunity for you to follow your heart, and you're passionate about something, and that built an audience. And now you're telling us how you are figuring out how to monetize that audience. And I think that's really important for our people who, let's say you wanted to jump to a group thing. First, have to put in the reps in the gym that you did. You put in a lot of work for the Women's Day thing. You've put in a lot of work ever since then, keeping this community going and things like that. So that is you doing the work to build the audience. And now you have a really good audience of really solid people. And this is the time then you can start, offering a group thing, or as you're saying, offering collaboration things. I would say paid introductions. Hey, I'd like to send you referrals. Can we set up some sort of referral agreement if somebody that I send you chooses to work with you? Many people will pay for referrals all day long. So to me, that is a good example of what's the gift? My gift is connection. My gift is that I'm connected to really good people and I see who they should be connected to. Great. How about paying money for that? Couldn't you do that for free? Sure you could, but guess what? You're a business, not a charity.
Yeah. And if you want it to continue, and that's sometimes that can be the learning curve. And that's, like you say, that's doing the work to begin with. And I saw from that group I brought together that the really strong people that I should be connected with, I'm still connected to.
Yes.
The others suddenly, they don't turn up for the podcast, or if it's not for them, they let you down 5 minutes beforehand, and you think, that's not the right resonance. But sometimes you don't know that until you've tried. That's doing the work in the first place to see. And those connections that are strong, they're like gold dust, because when you've got really strong connections, you know that's just going to grow and grow. And there's collaborations that have started literally from the International Women's Day, and it's so lovely to know. And that's when you know you've connected with your tribe. And I know for marketing, people use the word tribe in lots of different ways. And sometimes the people that are in your network are not your tribe.
Yes, exactly.
But they might know someone that should be. So it's having that connection. So like you say, the referral side, because I've always done that. If I can introduce two people, you don't necessarily want compensation at the time, but because you've introduced them, there's going to come a time where they think, oh, I know someone that could help Pearl, or she can help them, and they will pay that thing, and it's paid forward. And that's how you can start to have really fantastic growth in your business, and you start to really connect with the right people.
I think one thing that'll happen for you also is, I think you've honed your intuition about, you said there's some people who kind of flaked out along the way. I think you'll hone your intuition about that in advance. Yeah. And one of the ways that I think we do that is that, in your kind of initial kind of conversations with people, they'll kind of display some sort of qualities. And when you think about those qualities, you'll be like, who they're reminding me of? They're reminding me of this person who flaked out, or they're reminding me of this person who became an amazing partner. And that becomes so you hone your discernment process in building an audience. And I think that's something that all of us can look to work on.
Yeah. And there were certain things I saw when I first started the collaboration. You could see the ones that were coming from a place of need, a place of lack, because then they'd almost throw something at everyone. And I'd see a completely different side. And I thought, oh, whoa, because that is ethically, that's not the way I'd work, but not everyone works like that. But to see, and then you realise and you think, well, it's a good life lesson to learn and to understand. And sometimes those people might be really close and you've worked with them for ages, but as you grow, those people that you started working with, they might fall to the wayside because they might not be the end goal that you need to be working with, who your ideal clients are.
Absolutely. This is the who do I need to let go of? Who do I need to bring into my space? And then who do I need to let go of? And there's, I think this is another money block, Pearl, is that people are surrounded by others who won't let them rise above. Yeah. And this is, that's a lot of times that's family of origin and long-term friends and people like that. They're like, oh, look who's all, fancy now with the blah, blah, blahs. And to me, one of the things that was a really big turning point for me was when I started posting on my personal Facebook profile about the work that I did. And a lot of my work, as you've heard, is these $60,000 and $480,000 and $50,000 engagement and just numbers like that. And what's been remarkable, I had a problem with that because I thought, I hesitated because I'm friends on my Facebook with people I went to high school with and our cleaning people and the landscapers who help us. And, I just felt in some ways, is this going to be gauche, or is this going to be this is my reality. This is what I do. And what was amazing to me is that the people who cheered those posts the most were the ones who worked either for me, my housekeepers or, other supportive people. And they were super excited and super wow, that's amazing. Instead of slinking away and being small. And I thought that's really good because the people, I want the people around me to feel that. I want them to be enriched by the things that enrich me. And, just kind of this uplifting feeling for everyone. And that's the response that I got. And I feel like if you have people around you who are like, look at you posting blah, 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 or anything negative at all, those are people who need to be removed from your life as much as possible. The contact with them needs to be minimized because to me, that's the big block. The big block is when you have people around you telling you can't do things. We have enough voices inside of us that tell us that we can't do things. You need to be surrounded by people who are like, you go, girl. You can do anything. That's what I think is the key here is find your supporters. And if there are people who just are not going to make it, cannot come through with you to the next level, then they got to go.
And sometimes it's almost putting those into different blocks that you work with, because I've got two people that didn't necessarily agree, but they were both family members. And when I realised that, one was my son, and he'd say, but he didn't understand what I did. And he was telling me, he had an idea, and he said, Mum, you have to listen. I'm talking to you about marketing. And I sat there and I thought, do you actually know what I do for a living? But he really wanted me to understand, look, Mum, I've got a wonderful idea. This is how you market something. You go out there and you talk to them. And I'm saying, would you like me to introduce you to people that can help you with that? No, Mum, I'm talking about marketing. He was, and I thought, right, that's it. Step back. I'm with my daughter, with my sister. Now she doesn't need to work. She's married very well and they've got a wonderful life. And I was trying to help promote her husband's company. And she took me to one side and she said, we've got specialist marketing people that do that. And I thought, oh, you haven't seen what I do. And that's what you learn. And
yeah.
I can say that because they don't follow my podcast. So they never.
Well, then we know they're not on the ball.
But things like that where you don't realise and suddenly that's where you almost have those conversations, because like you, a lot of the time I will put stuff through my private, my personal profile, because it's something I think everyone can see and you never know where that's going to hit, and making it available, because all the time you just share it through a certain niche. Yes, they're the people that are your supporters anyway, but if you want to grow, you need to throw that net slightly wider and see from there. And that's when I learned, I thought, well, maybe it's like you can choose your friends and you can't choose your family. And although from dealing, sometimes they're not going to help business wise. Exactly.
This is the thing, is that sometimes the unsupportive person is a spouse or partner. And I feel like, then that's part of the journey for you, is figuring out what you're going to do with that person. Are you just going to do your work and keep that totally separate and not include them in that and not let them kind of drag you down? Or are you going to work with them so that they get over to your side? Or are you going to say, I don't think we can do this journey together anymore? So it's those to me are the really difficult ones. And, bearing in mind that all of the stuff that's inside of you have the power to work on. Like, it's really hard to work on a partner who is just not getting it, but it's pretty easy to work on things that are within you. And, if you really want it bad enough, and if you feel clear enough, to me, the thing that I always come back to is like, how clear do you feel about your mission and those divine gifts and that, the calling, the thing that you've been called to do. And if during the times that I feel like, well, I'm kind of tired of this and kind of whatever, I hook back into what I'm here to do. And I too am like you, very clear on what I'm here to do. I'm here clear that this is the way that I'm doing it. And if I need to take a break from it, that's fine. But to me, if you can check in with your, whatever you want to call it, your why or your calling or your mission, if you can check in with that and that can get you revved back up, then good. Sometimes you might need to check in with your power partners, your friends who, when you talk to them, they really believe in what you do. And if you don't have those, that's, I think, a key thing to find is find people who are doing well. I'm a little offended by this expression of like, you're the sum of the 5 people closest to you, as if those people needed to be wealthy. I'm okay being wealthier than those 5 people who are close to me, but I want them to be people who are aspiring to be better people, because that's the work that I'm interested in doing. And when I'm around people who are doing work and evolving, like they're changing. I had a friend who chewed chewing tobacco, just a terrible habit. And he quit while I knew him. Like the number of people who have like lost 50 pounds or divorced a terrible partner and found a good one, like people who have done work on themselves and evolved. That's the thing that that I want to have around me.
Yeah.
People who are like stuck, and you talk to them and you check in and they're the same place and the same place. And they're constantly talking about how they want to change, but they never do. Like, I can't even have that in my life.
Yeah.
So find your people who are like pulling you to be a better version of yourself. That's great. And if they're not earning, $1 million a year, okay, you be the one earning $1 million a year, and they are modeling for you what it looks like to be super fit or very loving or a terrific parent. Like those, if you're the sum of the 5 people around you, like, does that have to mean money? I don't think so.
Yeah. And it's almost going back to the universal thing. Money is energy. And if you see it as energy, and if the energy is resonating, fine. But it's like you said, why have everything as a monetization? Because if you're doing what you love and you're following all the steps that you and I are speaking about, you're going to get there. The money comes in anyway. If it's your divine calling, I truly believe, like you said, spirit, guidance, universe, whatever, would not give you something and not give you the means to actually fulfill it. Therefore, the money is part of that. That's part of what your divine gift is, and you will be given that. And if you truly believe and you have the faith in it, the money just comes automatically. All the time you're thinking, oh, I need that. You're coming from a place of lack, and it's not going to turn up because you've put the wrong vibration out there.
Yes. And I think the gifts that we're given by the universe and the means and all those things, is sometimes they're like a vacuum cleaner. You still need to plug it in and push it around.
Yeah.
Or it's like, can be like an IKEA shelf. You still need to kind of like put it together and use it. So this is what I think is that all the work's not going to be done for you. It's not a done for you kit. It's like, here's some assembly required. And the assembly is like, you put in your piece, you put in your part, and do your, a little work.
Yep. And it's almost back to the very first person and the idea I discussed, and I said, like, this person doesn't necessarily get as many people on there, but you have to do that work. There is marketing involved. You can build something like that whole adage, if you build it, they will come. They won't if they don't know it's there.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a clue. You have to signpost something to say, you can't have your wonderful idea and just say, right, yes, it's there, and look around, well, where is everyone? If you haven't told them about it and you haven't shared, they don't know it's there, so they're not going to pick up on it. And it's almost understanding that you can't. And if you've tried for, say, a week and you haven't got the results, don't say that that's it, it's not going to work, because it takes the work and it builds up, and it's having all those relationships and sharing and putting it out there. And it could be, I mean, we've all heard the stuff when you first start, that you can ask and ask and ask, and if you give up at 50, it could be the 51st person that was the millionaire that wanted everything. So you have to keep going. And if you've got faith and the love behind what you're doing, it's going to work. And that doesn't seem like too much effort. Whereas if it's going back, if it's too much effort for you, you then regroup and see, what is this really what I meant to do? And look for those signs as well, and be prepared to change and pivot as you need to. And as you grow and your clients and customers grow, and then you can go to the next level, and you find that then the 60s and the 80s and the 100k, that will then you can become the 100k person and someone else, and you just move with that as you're growing and understanding it.
Yes, totally. And assume that 100k person put in a ton of work, just like you're putting in a ton of work for your 20k or 40k or wherever you are.
Yeah. And it's understanding that and then loving. I mean, this is wonderful. We've taken just one subject and we've almost completed the whole hour, literally. It's one. And like we said, anyone listening to this, we had no agenda with this. We spoke about, before we went live, we spoke about what topic can we talk about, and we've taken one topic and we've completely dissected it, and we've shown people the different ways how to approach it, and then seeing how they can see it how it fits into their ideology, and then they can put it into practice. And the whole thing, what I love about the podcast is you can revisit it, you can listen to it again, and I guarantee as people listen, they will learn something new, because they might have missed it, or where they are in their journey, they weren't at the right time and space to hear that message until they listen again, and then suddenly that's the piece they needed to fit that jigsaw so that they can move on to the next level. And it's wonderful, because you've got your podcast as well. Can you share a bit with the audience what your podcast is and everything, because I've seen you sharing an awful lot on LinkedIn recently as well, I must admit, and it's brilliant.
Well, thank you. I have a podcast called Profitable Joyful Consulting. So all of the steps that we've talked about today, I'm sharing there. And I have a Facebook group with the same name, Profitable Joyful Consulting. And on my podcast, I basically talk about all the things I talk to my clients about. It's fundamentals, like all of the things that you need to have in place to have a consulting business, business growth strategies, like, specifically marketing, but also beyond marketing, like what are other ways to grow our businesses. And then lately this season, I'm talking about consulting advice, like when people say, well, you should, write a book, or you should never negotiate. And so a lot of times it's just me, and it's pretty concise. They're usually about 13 minutes long. And sometimes I'll have a guest on, and we talk about negotiation or licensing your IP or other things that, as I said, like my consulting clients are interested in hearing about. So it's very fun.
Is wonderful. And the knowledge, the amount of my network that have said to me and said they've listened to what you've shared and said how much information they've learned from that. And it's just wonderful, because again, it means from our connection, that's going out and our knowledge is being shared and it's touching other people and helping them to grow, which is so wonderful.
It is. Yes. That's what we're looking for. There are people who will never know, who will be impacted by our words. And that's the beauty of it, is I think, I love to meet people who have been, but I know that there's a lot of people that I'll never meet. And I feel like that's the universe in action, taking our words out to everyone else. I just wrote a post in my in the Facebook group, the Profitable Joyful Consulting Facebook group, about an email I got that said, I've been following you for a really long time. And I feel like all of us have that. We have those people who've been kind of following our work, but we don't hear from them. And it turns out like they know absolutely everything about us because they've read everything we've written and they've listened and seen and all of those kinds of things. And I think this is the piece when you're building an audience, or when you're trying to get clients, and maybe you've had a rough day, just keep in mind that there are a bunch of people out there whom you've never met and you may never meet, who are impacted by your words. So create content and put content out there. That's what motivates me to do that consistently.
It's so wonderful. And when you do get those messages that I followed you and everything, it's almost they're the positive strokes that makes it all worthwhile as well, because yes, you can have the paying clients, but when you can say, oh, I listened to this, I watched this, I heard you say that, and you changed my whole life in that area, or you changed my way of thinking, and then you think, yeah, that's what I'm here to do. And it's a wonderful feeling. It really is.
Definitely. It makes it all worth it, I think.
It is. Now, I'm going to draw this interview to a close, because I know you've got lots of other things to do. But if there's a parting message or pearls of wisdom that you would like to share, Samantha, what would be your last gift you'd like to share on this subject?
I want you to picture, you who are listening, I want you to picture that there's somebody out there who is struggling with the thing that you can help them with. And every day they're thinking and they're wishing and hoping and praying. They're like, I wish I could solve this. I wish someone could help me to do this. And who they need is you. And what they're looking for, and they may not even know that they're looking for it, is you. And so if you can think about them and what they need, and that they are like, this is a really big deal for them to solve this or to achieve this thing. It's on their heart. So can you create a piece of content or video or a social post and put that somewhere and call to them in that post so that they can hear or feel or read it? That's what I want you to think about when you're going through your day. Like, your job is to reach that person, so you become the answer to their prayer.
Oh, that is absolutely wonderful. It just leaves me to say a massive, massive thank you to you. And I can't wait until we get the chance to share Pearls of Wisdom again, because there's so many topics we've touched on that could be podcasts on their own. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pearl. I so appreciate you having me back.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the content shared. please share with others who would like to enjoy these interviews and discussions. If you would like to support the podcast, please follow the link in the episode description. If you want to be a guest on the show, reach out and let's discuss next steps. Until the next time, enjoy your listening.